namaste everyone, and welcome. Many of you I know from the teacher training, and some of the faces I don't recognize. And today's a topic that's really, really close to my heart, because whenever I started teaching, I'm just wondering if I can put this on gallery view, or I'll just leave it as is. No, it's okay. So when I started teaching, the first, I think Ross is coming to kind of put it on gallery view so I can see everyone. Thanks, Ross. Oh, fantastic. Yes, so it's great. Yeah, so when I first started teaching, what I saw was this was the area of one's spiritual life, so to speak, or a yogic path, which was very easily bypassed, because somehow we were all expected to be at peace, at ease, and these emotions were shoved just deep inside. So when we look at this particular subject, now in all of Indian mythology or in all of Indian sciences, there's so much richness of emotion and there's so much of importance given to emotion. Now, of course, there's a wealth of wisdom around it. And I thought for about 45 minutes to an hour, how am I going to make all of this concise and bring it into simple tools and simple techniques that we can take away from here, and simple principles that we can apply without overcomplicating it. So if you look at the principle of the Devis, or the divine feminine, each of the divine mothers helps us to deal with the particular area of our lives. So I'm going to talk about just the three main divine mothers. The first one being Durga. Now, how many of you have seen a photograph of Durga? For those of you who are here, I'm not sure if the email IDs are there. I can also send you like email information as well. How many of you have seen a photograph of Durga? You can just raise hands. Okay. So if you see Durga, she's sitting on a lion or a tiger, and she has about 4 arms on each side, and she's the sort of woman, and each arm has weapons. So she's the sort of woman that you do not want to mess with. Just her presence, just the way or the energy she holds exudes that sense of protection, that sense of do not cross my boundary, otherwise you're going to get hurt. But she's always smiling. She's always happy. It's not like she's stressed about protecting herself or her devotees. So in the beginning, what happens is this Durga energy is something we invoke. But the real tantric path or the real yogic path is we start to evoke this energy from within us. So the symbolism is quite beautiful for us to have an idea of, okay, this is what this stands for. And we all, if you see the human race, we like these archetypes, you know, all of these pictures and sounds and music, they register in the unconscious mind. So looking at this visual of Durga, looking at the songs associated with her, looking at the mantras associated with her, it appeals to a very deep part of our minds and our system. So with this Durga energy, like I was saying, we first invoke, then we evoke from within. And for me, when I was growing up, at least in India, what I wanted to work on was to be more assertive. Of course, not be aggressive, because usually what will happen is you give somebody a really long rope and then you're jarred and you have to like say no in a harsh way. But instead, can I just learn how to be rooted in myself? Can I learn how to be grounded in myself? And in a very smiling way, say, no, this is not possible. Can I do it without feeling that guilt that was conditioned into me? So what I started doing was doing practices to build this Durga energy in me. And of course, just because it's a woman doesn't mean men can practice it. This is excellent for men or women. But the symbolism is just this deity or this divine mother who's riding a lion or riding a tiger. So she resides, or her place is in the lower segment of the lungs. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our palms. So this is going to be a practical session as well, like I was saying. So we're going to connect to this part of our lungs, which is here. So if you can see where my palms are. So if you dig into your rib cage, you'll find floating ribs. So we get acquainted with this part of our body and we connect to this area of our rib cage. And now place your, or I would say keep your eyes closed. And place your attention on this area. And also bring your awareness to your breathing. Even the sound Durga means a fortress. So the first thing we need to feel safe in our lives is to have these healthy boundaries, to have the capacity to say no when we need to say no, to have the strength to say no, and let's tap into this energy, which is around our gut area. And it's fascinating that modern researchers are talking about this gut-brain connection. And the tantrics and the rishis or ancient researchers, as well as the yogis, have been speaking about gut health thousands of years ago. Now we're going to expand this area to the front, side, and back 3 times. We're not going to go into the details of it, but just a simple awareness of it. So breathing in, expand this area to the front, to the side, and to the back. And breathing out. And that's the movement. So we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathe in. Expand, expand, expand. Breathe out. Breathe in. Expand, expand, expand. And breathe out. And simply be present to how this area of your body is feeling. Connecting to the Durga energy, this fortress you want to build. And as we build this energy, there is less fear in the system. The more trauma, the more unresolved emotion in this area, then more the fear in this system. So very simple thing to remember. If you want less fear in the system, then practice of the lower segment breathing of the lungs. Now gently relax your palms, just shake out your wrists. And your shoulders, getting a little looseness, jiggling your head, your whole body, and throw out. And now we come to the second Devi. The second Devi we will be invoking. So we will be doing chants also for each of the Devis. We'll also be doing simple breath practices as well for each of these Devis. And we'll see a very practical application of this in our lives. So if you look at the second Devi or the Divine Mother, it is Lakshmi. And if you look at the word Laksh or Lakshya, it comes from the root word goal. So if we want to reach a particular goal in our lives, if we want this great abundance in our lives, if we want good self-love, a good reconnection to our own hearts, then this is the mother to invoke. Now, the area she resides in the body. So again, it's not removed from who we are. It's not somewhere out in space. So yes, we are invoking her, but ultimately that quality, so she's just a symbol for the quality we want to evoke from ourselves. So the space that she resides in is the mid chest region. And we're going to place our palms on the mid chest area and keep our eyes closed for a moment. And in your mind's eye, see this beautiful woman sitting on a pink lotus. She has two arms on either side. And there is an outpouring of gold coins. She also holds a pink lotus in two of her arms to symbolize or to remind us this beauty of the pink lotus that comes from muddy waters, and shines its beauty. So these muddy waters are symbolic for our own unresolved samskaras or unconscious stuff. All these past habits, self-sabotaging habits, self-defeating habits, the tamas or the inertia or the ignorance. So as we connect to this Divine Mother Lakshmi, to this Divine Feminine, not just outside but within us, we know we have the capacity through the practice, through the sound vibrations, to not only move through these muddy waters, but to actually blossom into beauty. So feel that in your heart, your mid-chest. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths here to bring in that energy of being enough, of self-love. Breathe in, expand, mid-chest to the front, side, and the back. Breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in through the nose. Expand, expand, expand. Breathe out. Breathe in. Expand, expand, expand. And breathe out. And stay connected. just for a few more seconds to this area of your body. And though her photograph or her illustration, I mean, not her photograph, nobody's photographed her, but her illustration shows these gold coins, she also symbolizes abundance in all levels or all layers, not just material prosperity, but spiritual abundance of knowledge, abundance of progeny. In those days, they wanted lots of kids, so that as well. And we're going to gently shake out our wrists, our shoulders, moving the prana or moving the energy. We'll understand why we're doing this later. We're just moving the life force in our system. We learn a little bit about prana and how prana or life force is also connected to emotions, breath connected to emotions, all these little connectors. So once we understand the overall connections, we can use 1 or 2 minute tools to shift those emotions in a very simple way and release. And we'll have a sip of water, hydrate ourselves. And we'll connect to this upper chest region, which is the third divine feminine that we're evoking and invoking, which is Saraswati. And we'll keep our eyes closed. And let's just connect to this area of our body, this upper chest region. And you can see in front of you a beautiful divine mother who's willing to assist you, who's sitting on a white lotus, wearing a white sari, or she could wear a gown in your eyes, it doesn't matter, a dress. But the Indian way, she's wearing a sari. And the idea is to see what she symbolizes by what she holds in her hands. So again, she has 4 arms. And in 2 of the arms, she holds this beautiful long musical instrument called the veena. It's from South India. For those of you who've seen a sitar, it looks similar to that. And then she holds a rosary. That's the English translation, but a japa mala in Sanskrit with 108 beads in it to symbolize the cycle of our lives. And in another hand, she holds the sacred scriptures. Now, Lakshmi had elephants, 2 elephants on either side. Durga was riding a lion or a tiger. And Saraswati has this beautiful swan next to her, which is the swan of discernment. So there is this bird called Hamsa, which has the capacity, even if you mix milk and water, it has the capacity to separate the 2 beautifully. And that's the discernment we get as we breathe into this upper chest, as we supply prana not just to the lungs or the head region, we have any imbalances, pain in the shoulders, pain in the neck, then this prana generated here can support that. But most importantly, we evoke the quality of discernment. We evoke this capacity for clarity or clear thinking. And we evoke this capacity for higher creativity and wisdom. So it's beautiful to see how just by focusing on a particular practice, a portion of the lungs, we can actually invoke one of the Shaktis. Shakti means power, energy, and the Divine Mother is also called Shakti. So it's no coincidence. And we're going to do 3 breaths, focusing on the upper chest. Breathe in, expand the upper chest. See if you can isolate opening the upper chest to the front, sides, and the back. Everybody's doing great. Breathe out. Breathe in. Expand, expand, expand. Breathe out. And one last time, breathe in, expand, 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 and breathe out. And we'll just stay here for a moment. Just by breathing deeply into a particular area of our body, we have the capacity to not just invoke, but evoke the Shakti or power or energy. And that's why yoga is Shakti through Bhakti. Bhakti is devotion to the expanse, not our limited conditioning, not our limited perceptions, not our limited experiences. Now gently relax the arms and we'll shake out. Once again, to move some prana. If there's any tightness or tension in the neck, just jiggle your body, feel like a little piece of jelly jiggling. Get some fun, have some fun. Get some lightness into the system, which is very, very important for this life force to move through us. So whenever there's fear in the system, what happens is there's a tensing, there's a tightness, because we're getting ready for fight or flight or even freeze. And we can throw out anything we don't want and have a sip of water. And then we'll go into this final practice where we, hi Munira. So we see this final practice where we place the palm, that is the right palm on the lower chest, left palm on the mid chest, and imagine a third hand on the upper chest. And as we do this, we are fully embodying Shakti, energy, power in us. So the power is not outside of us, but we are channeling this source energy. So we'll place our palms here, keeping the eyes closed again, and just being present to how this area of our body is feeling, and tapping into Shakti or understanding Shakti and cultivating a relationship with Shakti. which is a name not just for the divine mothers, but also for this power and energy. There are lots of ads in India where the boy will drink a particular drink and then he becomes Shaktiman, or he becomes really powerful. So this is our power drink. So we'll take a nice deep breath, expanding the lower chest, the mid chest, and the upper chest, and we breathe out. Breathing in, we expand the lower chest, the mid chest, and the upper chest, and we release. Breathing in, expanding the lower, mid, and the upper chest, all the three sides, and we release. And stay connected for a moment to this power inherent in breath, to this power inherent in emotions, to the power inherent in prana. Prana itself means life force or energy. So that is the energy that drives us. And all these three are intimately interconnected. So I'm simplifying all these years of practice and principles for you. So once you understand that the breath, prana, and emotions are connected, then you know by working on the breath, you can not only unravel old multi-layered stress or unresolved emotions, but you also have the capacity to embrace, release, and resolve them. We can channelize them for a better purpose. And we're going to do this breath 3 more times. And this time, with each breath, we can be grateful, one, for the life force that feeds us, that helps us to walk on this planet. And also this breath that when we consciously connect to it and consciously lengthen and deepen it, we have the capacity to calm and soothe the nervous system, and therefore calm and soothe the emotions. I'm sure all of you have observed when you're angry or upset, the breath is really fast. When you're in shock, you're holding your breath. And even when you're watching something that's not real, like a movie, it's a horror film or an action thriller, you're still holding your breath. So now we're consciously bringing awareness to all the many times we've held our breath in fear, in tension, which has been wired into our systems, and we're changing that wiring through this conscious breathing. So the more we practice this conscious breathing, the less the old wiring or the less the old patterning, the less this old loop will have power over us. And this new pattern will start to exert itself or allow itself into our lives. So we'll do this together. Breathe in. Expand your lower chest, your mid chest, and your upper chest. And breathing out. Breathe in. Expand, expand, expand. And breathe out. Breathe in. Expand, expand, expand. And breathe out. And just be present once again to your regular breathing, tuning into the breath, savoring the breath like you're sipping your favorite drink. And as we savor the breath, we can listen to the song of the breath, which is Soham, I am the origin. The breath is the key. Prana is the key to working with emotions. And of course, the principles are also very useful for our intellectual mind. And we're going to do one last time this practice so that you understand there are many, many permutations and combinations of this practice and a lot of nuances. But even if you do just the simple breathing in and out, deepening, lengthening the breath, that's great in itself. Working on the diaphragm, the lower chest, the mid chest, and the upper chest. Now we're going to pause the breath. So I'll instruct you, you don't have to worry about it. Breathe in, expand the diaphragm, lower chest, mid chest, upper chest. Pause the breath just for a moment and release. Breathing in, expanding, 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 expanding. Pausing the breath and releasing. One last time. Breathe in, expanding, 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 and pausing and releasing. And just stay connected for a moment. As we pause the breath, we're also sending a signal to the old brain that it doesn't have to be a stimulus response reactiveness to life. So usually there's a stimulus and then there's a reaction. And this is wired into the brain stem, this old reptilian part of the brain, which is main aim is survival. So it's in charge of balance, temperature regulation, respiration. And as we consciously breathe, we're not allowing this old brain to hijack our lives and just be triggered by everything around us. But we can consciously choose our responses. And that's what true responsibility is, the ability to respond. When you say, oh, this person is responsible, they're able to respond, not just react all the time or get triggered all the time. Now we'll gently relax our bodies, shake out the wrists, go back to a little bit more activity, more prana in the body, get some circulation, shaking out, moving our head, and throwing out anything that we don't need, any tension, out through the window with a big cleansing breath and having a sip of water. Just keep hydrating yourself. Again, prana also moves through the body when we're well hydrated. So you'll start seeing all these connections between prana, breath, and emotions, and how if we keep the prana moving, then we allow a free flow of release for these emotions as well. So again, for the sake of simplicity and clarity, I created a little 4-step program, because when I was training corporations in India, they were like, oh, you know, we don't have 2 years or we don't have 1 year, because the teacher training here is over 2 years. So obviously that's a big commitment for them. So they said, oh, in like a 1-hour session, could you just give us, they like these steps, could you give us like 10 steps or 4 steps or 5 steps? And I said, sure, I'll create a 4-step program for emotional management. Of course, as we practice it, it's much more nuanced. Some people, if they have lots of trauma, need one-on-one sessions. You have to go over a period of time. But for most people who have a healthy baseline, you can apply these 4 steps in a very simple way. So the first thing in any emotional management practice is that we look at acknowledging the emotion. And you may ask, why is it that we don't acknowledge the emotion? That's could be many, many reasons. Maybe in your parental home, crying was considered weak. So even if you have the impulse to cry, or if you feel sad, you kind of don't even want to acknowledge that you're sad, because that means that you're acknowledging you're weak. I'm not saying you are, but the association has been created in your mind between a particular emotion and a particular quality, which is not true at all because of the conditioning. Now, in India, there are a lot of these fairness creams. I'm just bringing this example so you understand it better. There are a lot of these fairness creams, and the advertising, the fairness cream is not good, but the advertising around it is brilliant. Because what happens is the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind it's very programmable. It's very, you can condition it just like with other animals when you train it. So basically what the advertising says is, this woman goes for a job, she's not confident, then she goes and puts some fairness cream there on her face, and then she goes back to the job, she's super confident, and then she gets the job. So what the advertising very smartly has manipulated all the viewers' minds into believing is that this fairness cream is connected to confidence. So they're not selling you fairness. They're basically selling you confidence in a tube. So the next time you feel less confident, you walk into a supermarket and automatically your hand goes and it picks up this fairness cream, and your mind doesn't even, there's not even any processing time there. It just picks it up and you feel better, simply because that association is created. So that's how the association also has been created with emotions being bad. They're not bad, but because while you are growing up, that association is created. Oh, crying is a sign of weakness. Crying is bad, or being angry anger is bad. So because that association is created, many people do not even want to acknowledge that particular emotion in them. Yeah, outside of them, okay, fine, it exists. But in me, somehow there are these escape mechanisms where we don't want to acknowledge it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring our palms into a namaste. This is actually acknowledging that divinity or that messenger that comes through the essence through all of us and through others. So we're going to acknowledge one emotion in us that somehow we feel uncomfortable with. It could even be disappointment. Sometimes because, we're taught to be so content with everything, at least on the spiritual path. So I found that that was an emotion I had to deal with. I could never tell somebody, oh my God, this is so disappointing what you're doing, because you're taught to be content with everything, So each of us have a particular emotion which we pretend doesn't exist. So let's place our palms, and then we bow down to our hearts and say, today I'm willing to acknowledge, or now I'm willing to acknowledge one emotion which I feel uncomfortable acknowledging is there in me. Whatever it is, it could be anger, it could be disappointment, feeling disappointed, feeling let down, or it could be some old grief. And we'll take one deep breath, breathe into our hearts, full chested breathing from the diaphragm, lower chest, mid chest, upper chest, and we release. And relax your head. So step one is acknowledging. Now step two is accepting. So you may say, okay, I've just acknowledged it. What's the second point in accepting what I've already acknowledged? So sometimes we may start off with acknowledging and saying it's there in us, but not giving enough time to fully embrace it. So it's like befriending something. Yeah, it's the first bit is just an acquaintance. You're saying hello there. Okay, you exist. Finally, I'm not ignoring you. I do agree you're there. But the second portion of accepting is this embracing and creating a relationship with this emotion. So this emotion constantly doesn't throw you out. So when you have a relationship with somebody, there is a certain degree of comfort. There's a certain degree of dependability. You know that there is a certain way you can relate to that person. So that comes in through this accepting, through this embracing of that emotion. So we're going to embrace. Today we're going to work with the same emotion. It's not like a workshop because it's just a one-way street. It's just a short segment. Usually people will announce it and then, there will be more practices. But for now, I'll just let you decide what that emotion is and just embrace yourself and the emotion. So give yourself a nice hug. And this hug or this practice is called the Manmata Kriya. Manmata is the god of love. And here we are just loving ourselves enough. And we're trying to break free from this grasp or this embrace. So breathe in and expand, 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 and breathe out. Breathe in, expand. Feel that emotion, whatever that emotion, say, I fully embrace you, dash, anger, or I fully embrace you, my grief, and release. Breathe in. I fully embrace you, my fears, and gently release. And you can gently relax your hand, loosely shake out your whole body. Again, whenever we hold emotions in the body becomes tense, it becomes tight. And when we're listening in a very intent way to somebody else, also, we start mirroring their emotions. That's why I'm making you do a lot of the shaking, So you'll understand, even in a 1 hour or 1 hour, 15-minute lecture, how much energy and how much mirroring we can do from each other unconsciously without even realizing it. So if we say, oh, even if I'm listening to something on YouTube, if I keep this constant practice of shaking out, I'm not tensing up sitting in front of the computer. Now you can throw out. So this is a very practical way of shaking those little bits that we unconsciously pick up from the media, from talks, from lectures, and constantly come back to ourselves. How is everyone doing there? Would you want a washroom break before we go to the next two? Yes, no? No, no washroom break. Okay, fantastic. I love this group. This is great. So we have the next two that we're going into. So we have the AA, that is the acknowledge, accept, or embrace. And then we have the R. So the R is for releasing. Now, if you see the entire yogic system, all of it in the classical way or in a more integrated way, I'm not talking about the exercise yoga, it is structured in such a way where this release happens. So if you see the cleansing breaths, which we just did, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So that is structured in such a way to enable a release, especially a release of pent-up emotions, especially a release of this sense of overwhelm that we have. And thanks to modern lives, we're not, I would say, we're not focused on our own rhythm. We're focused more on how do we pace things to either satisfy our spouse or the boss, or what expectations our parents put on us. At least Indian parents put a lot of expectations, you know, where they're like, you have to be successful, you have to do well in exams, you do everything, you have to be perfect. So whatever those expectations are, that's how you pace your life, not according to, okay, what is my own inner rhythm? Nobody ever taught me that, you know, in school at least. I wish they had. So what we do with that is, or in the yogic practices, is that we tune into our inner pace, in our inner rhythm. And if there's any stress or overwhelm as a result of not following that inner rhythm, then these practices help in releasing it. That's why in the Arkaya yoga class, the structure of the class is such where you move with your own pace. You move in a gentle way in the beginning. Then you can amp up the practice. Because in the beginning, if you start really fast, it becomes highly competitive. It becomes highly, oh, I have to get someplace, rather than savoring your breath, rather than savoring your body, rather than reconnecting to your own pace. So the release principles or the release tools are, thousands of tools are available. Now, one simple tool to release pent-up irritation that many of us may not even acknowledge and say, okay, this person or this situation is really annoying me. We're not blaming the person, but just saying that, okay, this thing is impacting me in such a way. And it's okay to own it and say, okay, this is impacting me in this kind of a manner. So one way to release nervous system irritation is the hissing breath. So we breathe in and we breathe out through the teeth. Like I said, there are thousands of tools to release it. So we're going to do this together. We breathe in through the nose and we hiss out through the teeth. Breathe in, expand, 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 and we hiss out. And one last time, breathing in. Wonderful. And hiss out. Everyone's doing great, looking like sweet little snakes. That's great. And we can still keep the eyes closed. This also cools the nervous system. or cools the body down. So if there's excessive pitta, those of you who understand Ayurveda, I won't go too much into it, but pitta is the quality of fire. So if there's excessive fire or imbalance of fire, then this hissing breath is very useful. It rebalances that pitta in the system. So on days when you're feeling irritable, you're feeling crabby, you're feeling short fused, this is a good practice to keep. So let's say you're feeling really, really irritated. Then you can amp this up a little bit by breathing in and doing 3 hissing breaths and 1 out breath. So we'll do this again. Breathe in. And 1 last time. Beautiful. And just be present to how your body's feeling. So this is excellent for mothers. Whenever you're dealing with kids who are not listening, you can have a little hissing session with yourself and then go and communicate. Of course, communicate boundaries to them, but in a way where your frustration doesn't get projected too much. And now we'll just rub our palms and place them on the eyes. And as we do this, we're also asking our system, our bodies on a visceral level, on a somatic level, we're asking for insight by turning our sight inwards. Insight into the root of these unresolved emotions. And like I said, this is just a taster. There's lots more work and deep work. But this is like an appetizer you can take home and still enjoy it and use it and apply it in your lives. So acknowledging the emotion, accepting and embracing it fully, releasing the charge around it and channelizing it in a positive way, and also asking for these insights as to where our boundaries are, being better able to communicate that, and also respecting another's boundary. And the last bit, you can release the palms, is another R. So we have AA and RR. The last one is the refining process or the refinement process. And in this refinement process, we can again introspect, contemplate. We don't have to do it when we're right in the midst of the volcano, but we can step back when those triggers are no more there in the system. We've done some degree of release practices. You can sit back and say, okay, what prompted this? Have I not grieved enough? Have I not kept space enough for myself? Am I not nourishing myself enough? Or is somebody constantly making demands on me? Whatever it is, we can sit with it and say, what is the root of this emotion? Or probably it goes much further down in time. It was maybe triggered by some trauma. So there's a lot of work in the refinement process. So the refinement process is what you see in many of the yogic texts or scriptures where they say different, like if you see the Bhagavad Gita, it also speaks about samatvam or samabhava, which means this capacity for equanimity. But of course, we can't arrive there without first acknowledging the emotion. Otherwise, like I said, there is a big tendency for spiritual bypassing, where we say, oh, we're supposed to be equanimous. So if I can get there, I may as well pretend I'm there by shoving all this below. So that's not how we want to get there. Now, Patanjali also has his own ideas. Patanjali, who codified the Yoga Sutras more than 2000 years ago, he also gives a lot of principles, ways for this. equanimity or calmness, or this stilling of the chitta vritti. Chitta vritti means the whirlpools or this agitation that is there in the unconscious mind. So he also gives you a whole set of techniques for the purpose of that. Now, one thing that he says is that by chanting the Om, so he doesn't talk about hundreds of mantras. Of course, the yogic tradition has many sound vibrations that can help us get there. But he speaks about just the Om, the Pranava Om, the A, U, to take us to the space of equanimity and Ishvara, or this very clear state of being. He also gives us guidelines as to how to deal with people. So he says, oh, if you have people who are happy, then be friendly with them, which is nice to have happy friends. Or if they're really sad, then what can you do? Be compassionate towards them. If they're doing good things, then of course you delight in them. Don't be jealous of them, but delight in their goodness, delight in what they're doing. And the last he says is, if they're wrongdoers or if they're not doing good things, then be indifferent to them. By indifference, he doesn't mean, oh, ignore what they're doing and, let it be, but don't get pulled into the drama of fighting with them. But of course, saying what you need to get that resolved. So each of the different scriptures and masters, they give a set of principles, how to deal with people, how to deal with emotions. But I would say, yes, all of them are very useful, but not to the point where you negate all that lays buried. So we need to do this emotional management first, or acknowledging emotions first, before we say, okay, this also we're going to apply in the context of taking responsibility for our emotions. And when we take responsibility for our emotions, we're not projecting them onto somebody else anymore. And whenever I see somebody who's not taking responsibility for their emotions, who's reactive or gets triggered easily, then the lazy man's way is, oh, I don't want to process these emotions. I don't want to do the work to acknowledge them, to what's the next one? Oh, you're all muted. So the next one is to accept and embrace them. The next one is to release and refine. So I don't want to do this processing work. So what do? I just throw it onto somebody else so they can process it for me. Now they're confused and not knowing what's happening, and they have to process all this unresolved emotional energy. And on an energetic or a psychic level, if you see, it's like you can either throw love balls at each other, or you can throw anger balls at each other. You can throw hatred balls at each other. So energetically, there is a passing of energy that happens when we don't do the work to resolve or process our own emotions. So that's why these great yogis or rishis, ancient researchers, they said that we're not just a physical body, but we also have an emotional body. I'm just looking at the time. Okay, we're good. So we have an emotional body, which is called the pranamaya kosha. Now, there are 5 bodies like this. Now, the scope of today's talk is not to talk about all these bodies, but to understand that we're not just unidimensional, but that we're multi-dimensional. And when we understand that we're multi-dimensional, we see that, yes, I exist not just here, but I exist also here on a subtler level. So I am responsible for not just my physical body, but I'm responsible also for this pranic body that's around me. And we'll do a very, very simple practice to clear the pranic space. Let's just create nice, healthy waves of energy. Sometimes a lot of old cobwebs are sticking around in this pranic body. It could be from 5 minutes ago, it could be from 5 years ago, it could be from 5 lifetimes ago. You never know what we have here. And create nice space. And we'll create the sankalpa. A sankalpa is an intention aligned with the highest. The sankalpa to release an intention aligned with the highest, to clear all these cobwebs, to do a healthy spring cleaning as much as we can. And we whoosh out. And we'll keep that sankalpa in mind just for a moment. If there's something specific in your life, you can bring it into your space now. Maybe fear of something specific, or maybe anything relationship oriented. Or something just personal, which is inside of you, that you wanted to harmonize, wanted to realign, and that you don't want to live with these contractions of fear, these virtual tigers that sometimes we go to bed with and wake up with and never seem to get rid of. And gently release your palms. So I'll just close with a little chanting and a poem I had in mind. I'm just trying to get that poem. And then we can have question and answers after. So I'm just seeing where that poem is. I kept it open. Now it's closed. There. So this one is again dedicated to everyone who's on the path of lightness and reconnection to oneself. So this is called Soul Dance. So as I connected with you, I felt my heart flutter to sense your depth. What a delight to feel your love for the light. I sighed as my body relaxed into knowing you did not want to possess, that you felt the great spirit in you. You felt the unfettered, all-encompassing magnitude. You recognized that beautiful spark in you and hence saw that in me. And in that recognition lays true beauty, the beauty of untainted love, where you could truly dance with me. So I'm just inviting you all to dance with yourselves. And if we have, like I said, a heaviness and a backlog of emotions, you might feel, oh, I'm feeling weighed down and I can't dance. But I can assure you, I've worked with many people one-on-one, also in groups, that we can all get to that place of that beautiful dance. And there's one more little musing that I will share. So this one actually came to me in the Shavasana. I have sometimes these beautiful Shavasanas after the practice. So this is called the gentlest of thoughts. The gentlest of thoughts. Oh, what a subtle thought that came to me when I was breathing. Like a feather, it caressed my being, bringing me to that relaxed moment when I could recall that thought no more. Save it for posterity, said my mind. Go write it down, using words to describe. but being with my breathing blew it away, and I knew that feather would flow to another who was with one's breathing and being and caress someone else all over again. So sometimes I've seen with life that we don't have to hold on to thoughts, memories. It's just this energy that flows from me to you, this energy of love, this energy of relaxation, this energy of pure beingness. So we'll just close with a little chant, and then we'll have the question and answer segment. So for the chant, I'm going to ask you to keep your eyes closed. And your hands can be in the yoga mudra, interlocking right thumb on the left. And we're going to invoke these sound vibrations. Like I said, sometimes we need an external symbolism of the goddesses, but basically these are qualities, vibrations that we evoke from within. So the first is Om Durgaya Namaha, to say I'm invoking this quality of protection, having a fortress of strength around me and in me. And I'm going to invite you to chant along with me. Om Durgaya Namaha. Om Durgaya Namaha. Om Durgaya Namaha. Now bring your awareness to the mid-chest area. Om Mahalakshmi Namaha. Om Mahalakshmi Namaha. Om Mahalakshmi Namaha. Now bring your awareness to your upper chest, head area. Om Saraswati Namaha. Om Saraswati Namaha. Om Saraswati Namaha. You can slowly, gently open your eyes. If there's time in the end, we'll also sing a little song by Yogananda that came to mind. But for now, I think I'll have Ross make some announcements, and then go to the question and answer. And those who want to stay back, we can sing the song too. I don't want to go too much beyond time, so I'm keeping to the time.
Thank you, Maitreyi. Hi, everybody. I'm Ross, and I have the lucky pleasure of assisting Maitreyi with a lot of the things with the Arkaya Awareness Center, which is her organization. And I just want to let you know about a couple of programs that we have coming up. So just first thing to remember, if you don't remember anything I tell you, just go to our website, arkaya.net. So arkaya.net, arkaya.net. And there you can find all the upcoming events and programs and register for them. So first off, we have every Saturday our Arkaya community class, which is a 2-hour session with a breath and embodiment focused practice at the start. And then Maitreyi gives a talk on the deeper dimensions of tantric yoga and leads a meditation and takes some question and answer. Oh, I see Esther put up the website in the chat. Thank you, Esther. So if anybody needs it, it's in the chat there. Next, we have, starting on June 14th, an online Foundations for Life program. So this is a self-paced online program led by Yogacharini Maitreyi, where you can learn how to go deeper into your own self, into these practices to tap into self-awareness and love. So that's a 56-hour program with over 30 hours of practice videos. There will be live Q&A sessions. And then at the end, there will be a 20-hour practicum, just where you share what you've learned with friends and family to help you more deeply embody and integrate those practices. So that's the online Foundations for Life program. 2 bonuses with that. One is anybody who registers from this event in the next 24 hours, we're going to give you the original early bird rate, which is now over. So you'll save $100. So instead of paying $640 for the program, you'll pay $540. So if you register through our website in the next 24 hours, you'll save $100. The other bonus is that you get during that online program, you'll get each of the Saturday community class 2-hour sessions for free. So that's a $300 value bonus if you register for that with the Arkaya community classes. Third event I want to announce is if you're in Vancouver or you want to come and visit Vancouver, November 7th and 8th, Maitreyi will be leading a non-residential retreat, which is being presented by Hollyhock. And that'll be out at UBC's Liu Center. And the title of that retreat is Discover the Essence of Tantra. So that you'll get to go deeper into an embodied understanding of what Tantra is as a practice and a life science. We also have the Arkaya 300-hour teacher training starting September 12th. And that's basically a 2-year commitment, and it's nicely spaced out so you can integrate it into your life. So those who want to become a teacher or who are already a teacher and want to more fully embody that role, or those who just want to really stabilize in a deep daily spiritual practice, then this might be something for you. So again, arkaya.net if you want to learn more. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ross. Ross is like a little brother to me. Thank you. Any questions? We'll have 1 or 2 questions, and then those who want to stay back can always stay back for the song. Oh, thanks, Munira. I just see Munira's message. I don't know, I can't read the whole message, but yeah. Thanks, Munira.
Hi, Maitreyi. It's Ashley.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Lovely to see you here, Ashley.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful session. Thank you for all your insights and taking us through those practices. I'm curious from your perspective, how much do you feel that the movement of the physical body is necessary to really allow that prana to flow? Because I sense, I mean, I was once upon a time very addicted to the movement of the physical body. And you know, here yoga is represented in a very different way through
Yes.
a lot of movement. But
Yes.
I'm just curious how much you recommend bringing that into our day-to-day lives to ensure that that flow is still there.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question because it depends on the age, the stage, the body type of the person, how much physical practice they actually need. But in general, I would say the yogic emphasis is to move with the breath. So as you move with the breath, what you're creating is this alignment of the body, the emotions, and the mind. And when you're being mindful of the movement. So that's where there's a difference between any sort of movement of body or a mindful movement driven by the breath, which is what yoga recommends, because there is a cohesiveness within oneself, and therefore one acts in integrity, which means in alignment, on an inner alignment. So what you say and what you do and how you feel are all matching each other. So that's the emphasis of moving in alignment with the breath, moving mindfully. And like I said, depending on the stage, for teenagers, when we actually teach a much more vigorous practice because they have a lot of this energy to burn. Or kids, if you even see younger kids, they're just running around, they have all this energy to burn. But as you become, like I would say, at a certain stage in life, or let's say you have injuries, then still the movement can help, but again, feeling your pace and saying, okay, if I breathe into this, if I move mindfully, again, pacing, again, being aware of what is the right amount of movement, then it's very, very useful. So I would say the answer to your question is the right amount of movement for each person, along with the breathing and the mindfulness is the key to moving prana. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I was feeling that perhaps maybe my mind was interfering in this process because lately, in the past few months, since we've been in quarantine, I've just been compelled to walk and walk slowly, and that's been the extent of it. So it's quite a shift from my regular movement. Um, so thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
Thank you.
If no one else is asking, may I just ask one thing?
Yes.
About the process that we did. Firstly, thank you for that. And I love the self-hug. Felt really very good. So I understand the first stage is to accept an emotion and then, acknowledge, and then it is to accept and embrace it. Third, also I understood the hissing and releasing it, but the refine, I'm not very sure I got what we kind of do in that, because there are certain emotions I know I hold and I want to release them like forever.
Oh.
So what did we really...
Sorry, I can't see you. I'm going to ask Ross again. I was just trying to see the thing to shift so I could see you, but I'm again, sorry for my lack of tech savviness.
No, can you see me now?
No, that's just my thing.
Oh, okay.
Ross, how do I move it to bring it back to gallery view?
Up in the top right corner, you'll see it says
Okay.
gallery view.
Fantastic. So I press on that?
Yeah. We're using the mouse.
Oh.
So cute that is.
It always forgets that it's a laptop, not a tablet.
Yeah, I just tried it. Oh, there you are. Sorry, I got a little distracted trying to figure that out. Could you please repeat just the last part of the question?
So I was saying that what did we exactly do in the refine part of the practice? Because I actually, while hugging myself, I realized there were many emotions that I was holding. I wasn't aware of some of them, though I was trying to work on one, and I really want to let go of all of them forever.
Yes, we all do. So yeah, sometimes that's another thing. I'm just interjecting you because I had a student ask me, like, how long is this going to take? You know, how many lifetimes? And I think that's why keeping that baseline of, you know, self-nurturing care, where you're not trying to deal with all of this unresolved stuff in one day, then of course we're going to overwhelm ourselves. And just do it in bite-sized bits where we say, okay, today this is enough. You know, this backlog is enough to help me keep that baseline. I think that's, again, pacing ourselves. And the whole class, that is the physical practice, actually is a structure for our lives. So when we're processing, when we're dealing with day-to-day work, it's like, oh, again, we're not taking on too much and overwhelming ourselves. So similarly, even with this processing work, it's very important not to overwhelm ourselves and just take these bite-sized bits and say, okay, today let me contemplate this. Today let me resolve this. Yes.
So because sorry, what I meant was I already am doing particular things for my spiritual say evolution or journey. So in that, if I every day bring into these practice these 4 steps, I wanted to understand, what did we exactly do in the refine step? Did we just
The
collect or
process.
move the prana and just kind of whoosh it away? Is that what we did in the 4th step?
Oh, no. The releasing is where we actually release the charge around the emotion. And in the refining, we're actually sitting and contemplating what situation triggered it. We're also saying, okay, can I reframe the situation, or is it just my own misinterpretation of what happened that triggered it? Maybe I didn't perceive the situation in the right way, or maybe you perceived it right, but then again, it gives you that clarity around what your boundaries are, which means that person has a habitual way. Usually it's never personal. That person has a habitual way of speaking, which could be rude, and maybe that doesn't appeal to you, and it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge that and say, maybe I can't be too friendly with this person. I can have a general sense of goodwill towards them, but I can't be thick with them because my sensibilities do not align with that. So it's okay to say that to yourself, but do it in a healthy way, understanding why you're doing what you're doing, not because of this reactiveness. So that is where the refining process comes.
So
When
introspecting,
all these triggers are dealt with, then we can contemplate the situation and see what we need to do. This
Thank you.
contemplation and sitting with it. Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you for that question. That's an important one. Yeah.
Maitreyi, there's 2 questions that came up in the chat. The first
Yeah.
one's from Munira. So I'll just go to that and read it out to you.
Yes, please.
Munira said, thanks, Maitreyi, such a nice session with you. I've been exploring emotions a lot lately and have been curious about the difference between working with emotions that are more fleeting from day-to-day life experiences and emotions that I am noticing are locked within me and come out like a flood after a dam is broken. I'm trying to be present to the emotions coming through me day to day, but I don't know when and how they connect into the deeper ones I am unaware of.
Beautiful, beautiful question. Thanks, Munira. I know Vinika and Munira, so that's why there's a nice sense of familiarity, and Ashley as well. So that's a really good question. And the second one, the damned emotions that come up, that again, takes a little bit more of a container to work with. This is just a more open session. So I was just giving the practices and principles that we can work with day-to-day emotions. But these very same principles can also be applied on a much deeper level. That happens when we do the teacher training, where there's a container for that, and when there is a permission for that, where in one of the retreats, I had one person cry for 2 hours straight. And these were the damned emotions that came, and it was a man, so I was not surprised, because again, he comes from a Mexican culture where the crying is a no. His dad was like, no way are you going to be less of a man by crying. So because he had that permission to release for 2 hours straight, I even timed it, just to see, okay, how long is he going to go on crying? So, and he felt great after. We all were, we felt great that he felt safe enough to do that. And so, like I said, for the deeper emotions to come to the surface, there needs to be a better container for that, where you don't judge yourself and those around you don't judge you as well. So that would be a safe container to keep first. And then also keeping these practices that we do to release the deeper trauma that's held within. There are certain practices which I will not teach in an open session like this. This is more the lighter stuff, just so you have a understanding. And once you do those practices, it will come to the surface to be released. But thank you for making the difference or asking the question, because now I can differentiate between the two in the answer. So thanks for that. Yeah.
Okay. The next question was from Anand K. And he said, I'm just finding it here. He said, Namaste, Akaji. Could you please elaborate on emotions vis-a-vis chakra.
Oh, wonderful. So namaste, Anand. That's nice to hear another Thambi. I don't know if you're from South India, because Akka is a word in Tamil for big sister. So that's why I was like, I wonder where you're from. Would you like to share?
Hello,
I
Akka.
can't.
Namaste.
Namaste, namaskaram.
Namaste. Anand from Karnataka.
Karnataka. Oh,
Anand
wonderful.
from North Karnataka.
Oh,
Yes, yes,
wonderful.
yes. Before you answer my question, actually, I have been following. First, I read your articles in the Hindu newspaper from 13 years back.
Oh, wow.
Hello,
Yes. Yes, I can
13
hear you.
years back. Yeah,
Oh,
I used to
wonderful.
follow your articles in the English Indian newspaper. Probably that time you were based in India itself.
Yes. So that's
Yes.
wonderful to connect with you and meet you after 13 years. I
Yes,
love
yes,
I
yes,
love to know where everyone's, those beautiful connections.
yes,
So welcome. I'm
yes.
glad
Thank
you
you.
stayed up, late in the night to attend this one.
Yes.
So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
So you asked the difference
So
between, oh, sorry, you were sharing.
yeah, that's what chakras and emotions. You give some exercises. I'm
Yes.
practicing Kriya Yoga under the guidance of Master Shri M. I think once I
Wonderful.
told you on the Facebook, Master Shri M.
Yes.
It's a Kriya Yoga, and I also practice Hatha Yoga. I wanted to know how these chakras are, emotions are related to
So the
chakras.
chakras, yes. So that's a very good
Chakras, yes.
question again. So if you see prana, we were talking about prana or life force. So we go into once we go into the technicality of it, we can very simply understand the relationship. So prana flows in the pranamaya kosha or this pranic field through pathways called nadis. Now there are about 72,000 nadis. Now different scriptures say there are two versions of it, but for now we'll just stick to the version. There are 72,000 nadis, just as there are many nerves in the physical body. So when these nadis converge, they are called chakras. Now when nerves converge, they are called plexus. So we have the solar plexus, and then we have a chakra in the pranamaya kosha, which corresponds to that plexus. So this is called the Manipura chakra. Now let's say in Manipura, Mani means gem, city. So you understand the meaning of it. Now, if there are emotions in the pranamaya kosha that are unresolved, especially to do with power, your power center, your solar plexus center, and there are some power struggles, then this is where we have, it's almost somebody hit you in the gut. And when somebody comes to punch you, this is the area we tighten. So when there's a contraction, either in the physical body or in the pranic body, then there is a lack of flow of prana. So in that moment, it's fine because it's a protective impulse to hold in the gut because we want to protect our organs from being hurt if somebody should come and punch you. But let's say there's constant contraction because of fear of this energetic punch, which you feel might come from different people. It could be a perceived punch or it could be a real punch. So what happens with these nadis and these pranic fields and chakras is that there is less flow of prana as a result of these many perceived punches. So the more the unresolved fear around being attacked, then there will be less prana flowing through these pranic fields and therefore less flow of prana in the chakras. So that's a very simple step-by-step answer. But I can elaborate a lot more on this. I just don't want to go into it. But like I said, basically if we have unresolved emotions, less flow of prana and therefore the chakras will be less open. They'll be constricted, they'll be tight, and they'll be holding a lot of trauma. So that's the simple answer to it. I hope that satisfied you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
So the more we
Yeah.
process,
I
the
mean,
more we
I'm
get
very
rid of
happy.
emotions, the more flow of prana in the system. Yeah.
So Maitreyi, there's another question. Ashley sent the question, but she said Stacy had asked. The
Okay.
question is, what is the difference between this practice and Kundalini?
Is she asking about the brand Kundalini Yoga or the actual Kundalini practices? So in the West, when I first came, I realized that there were so many brands. So if you say Ashtanga, there is the brand Ashtanga Yoga, and there is the actual Ashtanga Yoga that Patanjali codified over 2000 years ago. So the brand Kundalini, I don't know what practices are taught there to be to kind of qualify an answer on that. But
She
all the
typed
practices,
in, sorry
sorry.
to interrupt, she typed in the chat, she responded to you and said Kundalini Yoga. So I think she's speaking of the brand that was proliferated by Yogi Bhajan is
Yogi
my
Bhajan.
sense,
Okay, so like I said, I'm not an authority on it. I don't know, what they teach in it, but the traditional Kundalini practices are there again, as we were speaking of, to clear the nadis, to clear the chakras, to bring this original harmonization into the system, but not just on a mental level, but on an energetic level, on a physical level, on every layer of our being. So it's being able to live this connection in our bodies, not just somewhere in our heads and intellectually understand it. So that was the aim of Kundalini Yoga, which means this movement of Shakti. Again, I started off with this quote, yoga is Shakti through Bhakti. So when we have this devotion to the expanse being Shiva, the expanse being this supreme consciousness, we want the Shakti from the root or the base to rise and meet. We want this beautiful dance of Shiva and Shakti. We want this beautiful dance of the polarities of the left brain and the right brain, of the right side of the body and the left side of the body, the yin and the yang, of consciousness and power. So we want this beautiful dance to happen, and which is what the traditional Kundalini practices are structured. They're structured for that purpose. Now, Yogi Bhajan's Kundalini Yoga, like I said, I can't comment much because I haven't studied it. I have experienced it once when I was at a conference in Rishikesh. I was teaching there, and I did attend one of the practices, but that was just a 1 hour. So I don't know the philosophy behind it, or I don't know Yogi Bhajan personally or how he structured it. So I won't comment on that, to be just because I don't know. Yeah. But the Arkaya yoga system I'll comment on, that is more step by step. It's more gentle in the beginning, and then people can amp up the practice. Because I also have seen that people in a rush to get somewhere, they can short circuit their nervous systems. If the body's not ready, you can actually harm yourself, not just on a physical level, but on a pranic and energetic level too. You can end up hurting yourself. So it's better to go step by step. So, yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has any questions, but Multi sent a message saying that she had another one as well.
Okay.
I don't know what our time is like.
Yeah, I've already closed. I said those who want to stay back can, but maybe we'll close in 5 minutes. We'll just say we'll keep a 5-minute cap. Gwyneth Gwyneth raised hand there. Yes, Gwyneth. You need to unmute yourself so we can hear you.
Now you can hear that?
Yes, yes.
I'm from a different, lineage of yoga that I've been studying for 30 years, and probably other people on here study different types of yoga. Yeah. Might you just, your course sounds really fabulous. I love what you're teaching today. It so makes sense. And I just wondered if you might say your system of yoga starts slowly, and I just wondered if you might say sort of a few different stages that a new student might go through, say in the first, you know, I don't know, in the first steps of coming to classes with you, maybe over the, you know, 5 years or something, what steps?
Okay. Yes, no, no, for sure. That's a good question just to understand the graph. So again, I could give a rough graph because again, it's personal. So even within the structure is not rigid. Each person kind of feels, okay, what is my, availability of time for sadhana? What is my commitment? Where am I at this stage in my life? And then the responsibility is also on them. But on a basic level, if people come, they start off with the community classes, which is 2 hours. It's a sliding scale donation based system. So the first 1 hour of that class is a more mindfulness practice. So we're doing a lot of practices lying in the shavasana. So why I start off with the shavasana, why I restructured a lot of practices, is that when I was traveling, I found that people had no connection to the earth, that this earth element was missing. It was all here, like up in the air, kind of to speak. So the earthing, the grounding, the connecting with the earth is very, very important. So people start off by doing these practices in the shavasana and also in the makarasana on their belly. So it's also a way where most of your weight is borne by the earth. So there's not much strain on the spine. So even people with injuries or people who are older can start off with the practice. And of course, people who are middle-aged as well, there's no pressure on them to look a particular way. So I don't find people, or at least I don't attract people who come, with the yoga bodies. There's so many different beautiful bodies. I mean, I'm just using that word because it's popular in the West. So there's so many different beautiful bodies that can actually participate and integrate in this particular way. So we start off with the lying down postures, then it's the sitting postures, understanding alignment, not just alignment of how you're sitting, but alignment of the different koshas, which means alignment of the physical body, the emotional body or the pranic body, the mind field and the cosmic fields, and doing practices, pranic practices to actually realign these koshas. Because otherwise we can drive the body with the mind, like a parent, a tyrannical parent drives the child. And whatever is conditioned, that is what exerts itself. So that again is the foundational principle of the Jyoti Kriya. There's a practice called the Jyoti Kriya that we do to realign all the different koshas. And of course, some standing postures in the beginning, but not too many. And then we go back to Shavasana and lie down and integrate. So that's the first 1 hour. Then there's a meditative practice in the same community class, which I lead, and also a little bit of theory in terms of understanding why are we doing what we're doing. And a certain concept and principle is discussed and also contemplated with some question and answers. So that's the first segment where people come to this community class, understand these things in a very gentle way, and also for them it's not too much of a commitment. The second is the online Foundations for Life program. So there we go a little bit deeper into certain practices. We also do a lot of the sun salutations at a later stage. We also start gently, but a lot of the sun salutations come in, the moon salutations come in, where we're moving prana in a much more vigorous manner. But again, I tell people that it's not necessary that we have to move to that stage quickly. If somebody says, oh, I just want to keep doing the foundational practices for 2 years and 5 years and do nothing else, that's great too. People can still unfold. And I always tell people that, it's not how difficult the asana is, which is more advanced, but how still you can be in a practice, which is a sign of advancement. So the practices are more for releasing that rajas or restlessness or that old tamas or darkness or density into that stillness. So if some person feels, oh, all I need is just the foundational practice, is great. Otherwise, if somebody feels I need a little bit more activity, of course, there is the learning of the sun salutations on a practical and physical level. And there's a lot more deeper processing that happens where it could be one through this foundational course, or it could be through one-on-ones. Ross also does one-on-ones, I do one-on-ones. So that is open for those who feel, yes, we want more support and we want more guidance for a quicker and I wouldn't even say quicker. I would say I just need that support. Some people can do it on their own, some people cannot. So it's just giving that extra support. Need not be mean quicker. I'll retract that. Then there's the teacher training. When somebody says, maybe I don't want to become a teacher, but I want to understand this full process of one, going through or moving through this muck, but also stabilizing at a stage where I can impart this teaching in a way where I become a clear channel to a reasonable extent. You don't, of course, have to be 100% clear and like stress about that, but to a reasonable extent where you become a clear channel and you can communicate the tools to others as well as the principles and hold space for a group. Because it's one thing learning to hold space for yourself, it's another learning to hold space for others. And having the capacity and the prana and energy to do that. So that I would say is the next stage. And then there are people who, even after the teacher training, sometimes in the teacher training, I joke, and one of the young men remembered it. And he said, yeah, I remember you saying it's a 7-year commitment, not just a 2-year commitment. And then it's another 7 years and it's another 7 years. So I would just say it's a lifelong commitment where it almost feels like after the teacher training, people come back to this foundational practice in a healthy way, where they say, okay, all we need is this simple sangha, simple good food, nice, community, good nature. Your mind almost sees the value of the simple things more and more. And because of this refinement process, you also savor the subtle more and more. So you're not actually wanting the most complicated practice, or you're not wanting the most difficult practice or the headstands or those kind of practices. So I hope that kind of gave you a gist of course there's a lot of the chakra healing too that we do in the teacher training, the pranic healing, the chakra healing, mostly on oneself, but we also do a lot of partner work because of the purification, or after I would say a certain degree of purification, only then I feel people can work on each other. Otherwise there's a bit too much transference and again energetic projections, which are better avoided in the beginning. So later on there will be some degree of partner work and supporting each other. We don't even call it healing, it's more healing support. Each person is a support for each other. So that's also a very important part of the teacher training. Yes.
Wow, thank you. That's a very full program with a lovely invitation for beginners and all stages. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we'll close. We're kind of gone over time, but I think everybody was excited about the question and answer session as well. So we'll just end with a song, and if you all want it, it's just a Yogananda song called "Engrossed in the Bee of My Mind." In the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. So engrossed is the bee of my mind in the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. That's all the song is. So we'll just keep our eyes closed and we'll close with that. Engrossed is the bee of my mind in the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Divine Mother, Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind in the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. Divine Mother, Divine Mother, Divine Mother, my Divine Mother. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. And thanks for being such a wonderful audience too, and staying back, answering questions much past time. And some of you from India, where it's midnight, past midnight as well. We're all going gung-ho. Thank you.
Thank you. I especially was very curious to see you, or listen to you and see you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for joining us.
Almost you have been dedicating yourself, I think more than a decade, right? For
Yes.
yoga.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
2 decades I've been teaching, but yeah.
2 decades. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful. The blessing of COVID times too, all these online things. And thank you, Jacob, once again for hosting and patiently waiting for us to end. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maitreyi, Ross, and Jacob. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone
Yes.
sharing. It was very good.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Have a good week.